In this section, we show you how to create basic menus using Bash. Bash supports a few trivial ways of creating menus. One is using case, the other is using select. Now, select uses a list to base what it displays to you, and we're going to show you how to construct that list. Let's open a shell, and we'll define initially a very basic menu, and then we'll move on to other interesting things. Let's go into temp 2, and we will create a new script that will be called select1.shell. And it will have traditional headers, including the location of bash and author information, as well as date and purpose. And in this case, it's the 19th. And the purpose is to illustrate how to use or basic usage of select. So let's show you how select works within Bash. If you need to create like really rudimentary lists to present a menu to either yourself or to an end user, use select. First and foremost, select uses the PS3 prompt. By default, when you log into the Bash environment, you're using the PS1 prompt. Let's Control-Shift-T to show you. You can grep from your environment PS, or do set grep PS, and you'll see that the PS1 variable is set, 2 is set, 4 is set, but 3 isn't set. 1 is set with prefixes of the username at the host, as well as the current working directory, so that it changes accordingly. But 3 is not set, so when we invoke select from our script, Bash will set PS3, and you'll see the default value. So first, let's create the basic syntax. It looks as follows: select a variable name that will iterate or will change as we go through the menu options. So select variable name in some list. Now the list can be specified between quotes separated by spaces or in a variable, and we'll show you both flavors. So first, let's just show you the basic flavor, which is to echo to the user choice 1 and choice 2. These are two options we're asking the user to select from. We'll select the variable in choice 1 and choice 2. Then, as we move in, we'll tab in and we'll say do the command, whatever the command will be. We have the optional break. This is optional if you want to give the user the ability to easily exit without doing Control-C. And then you have done. So this is really all we need to say. Now, before we show you two choices, let's show you what happens with one choice. So select var in choice 1, and we'll do some command. That command will be to, let's say, echo, and we'll just echo to the screen, echo hello world, for example. Let's execute this particular script in the separate window. We'll navigate into temp 2, and we'll source select1.shell. Now, by default, it presents the choice, and this is the first value here in the list, choice 1, and it returns this weird-looking prompt, which is the default for PS3. This is changeable. So first, before we make a choice, before we select an option, let's change the prompt because this is not intuitive. This doesn't tell the user or prompt the user in any intuitive fashion to select a menu option. To change that variable, simply before you get into the menu selection, just change PS3 or set PS3 for the duration of this script to be equal to some value contained between quotes. Now in Bash, we set variables without spaces between the assignment and the actual variable or placeholder. So PS3 will be equivalent to please select a choice, for example. And now let's go back. We'll kill the script with Control-C, clear screen, and resource select1.shell. Now we have a sensible looking menu, and this is certainly intuitive. Now let's select choice 1 by pressing 1. When we press 1, it echoes hello world. We can proceed with choice 1 again. It's our only choice. Now subsequent prompts echoed by PS3 will not re-show the menu. However, if we keep picking the choice, it keeps branching to choice 1 to perform whatever choice 1 says to do, which is the only one action, which is to echo hello world. Notice that this is in a seemingly never-ending loop. Now if we press enter with no option, it shows us the menu. So let's say we've overrun the screen, for example. The menu is returned. We pick a choice, it does hello world. We select or we specify no option, it shows us the menu. This may seem impossible to break out of, but as all things bash, do a Control-C, and this breaks from the particular script. Now break helps us to easily get out of the menu. Let's go back and show you what happens when we source the select one.shell. We pick a choice, it echoes hello world, it breaks, it leaves immediately after executing that particular option. Now it's no fun if the menu contains only one option, so what we need to do is further develop this menu. Let's present two choices. Now just in case you're confused about this var, if there's any significance to the name, there isn't. This could very well be a variable called I as an index to iterate, or as an iterator to iterate through the loop. Let's show you what we mean. We pick 1, it echoes hello world, or it performs the command, and then it exits. So var or I or whatever you want to call it is simply an iterator. Let's add another choice. We'll now specify two choices. What will happen here is as follows. Both will perform the same function or the same command. Now we have choice 1, we have choice 2, and if we pick 1, it's all one command. They aren't separate commands. So how do we develop this so it becomes separate commands? Well, let's show you. First and foremost, if you want, you can get rid of the list from here by storing it in a variable. That's quite easy. So we can store our options in a variable. Let's call it list. Or you can call it choices, doesn't matter. So this variable will be called list, and list will be equivalent to choice 1 and choice 2, which currently doesn't do much. Then we'll execute our select, and instead of executing a select or having a select picked from the statically defined list, we'll just tell it to cross-reference the variable list. So this will now go in and pick from options in list. But this doesn't change the output of the select or the menu by much, although it does display it on a separate line because the values are within the list, but it doesn't change the execution. For example, if we say 1, it does hello world and it breaks. If we re-enter and we select 2, it still does hello world. So both are doing the same thing, so this still isn't intuitive. It isn't performing like a traditional menu. So let's develop it. This is where we build conditional testing within our script, and we do simple things such as if the option. In this case, this is why we have the iterator. If I is equivalent to the option choice 1, then do some other command, for example. So let's show you what we mean. We go into the body of the list, and once in, we set up our conditional testing to look like the following. If I is equivalent to choice 1, we will then perform, let's say, echo hello world. Else, if it's equivalent to choice 2, we'll do an else if. If I is equivalent to choice 2, we will then perform something else. Perhaps we can say goodbye world. We'll echo goodbye, and let's make this lowercase. Echo goodbye world. So we have two options now. Choice 2 will match in the event that we select it. At the end of choice 2, we will break. Let's take a look here. We'll re-execute, and we'll take a quick look here. And we're simply missing the closing for the if. We haven't actually closed the if. And that's an fi. These are the functions we want to perform when they match. Let's go back. We'll resource. And we simply need a then after our second conditional test. Now let's go back, clear screen, source, select. And now we have two choices. Choice 1 echoes hello world. It quits the script because if we pick, it echoes, and we don't do any other conditional testing, it then breaks and exits. Let's rerun the script. If we don't have break, by the way, then the script, or at least an option that exits us gracefully out of the menu, then the menu will keep rerunning. Choice 2 says goodbye world and it kicks us out. So both are doing what we want them to do. Now let's further develop this. Let's comment out break, and we will stick an option in here for quitting, as you're accustomed to seeing on menus. So choice 3 will be to quit. So we simply need a condition in here to manage that. And we'll simply say elif I is equivalent to quit. Then we can exit. We can echo something first, clear the screen, do something else, or simply just exit. So we'll just simply exit. This will just get us out of the script, and the condition ends, and we're done with the selection. So let's go back. Let's clear screen and resource select. Now we have 3 options. Pick choice 1, it echoes, and it gives us the option to pick another choice. If we specify nothing, we're presented with the entire menu. We pick choice 2, it echoes goodbye world, but we're still within the menu. However, when we select choice 3, it quits. Now notice a big difference. We no longer have 2 tabs open, because when you type exit from a script that was sourced with the script source being bash and not the script itself, in other words, when you source a script versus executing it directly, there is no subshell created. So let's do the following. We'll Control-Shift-T, navigate into temp 2. We'll change mod u plus x, select 1.shell so that it becomes executable. If we look at the first line using head from select.shell, as you can see it has the shebang header. So now we can execute select 1.shell directly, and it will present us with 3 options. 1, echoes hello world, no big deal. 2, echoes goodbye world. 3, quits, but it returns us to the prompt because whenever you execute a shell, a bash shell script, it creates a subshell. So we've exited the subshell. Now we can do other things with this script. Let's say, for example, we wanted to look at the logs. Let's say we want, for example, in this list, choice 1 to be, let's say we want to rework this menu to tail the active logs on our system, for example. So let's say we want to look at the MySQL log as well as the system log. These are 2 logs on the system. One is messages, the other is MySQL. We can say if choice is equivalent to MySQL, then instead of simply echoing hello world, how about we tail var log mysqld.log. But we don't want to just tail it. Let's watch it as an administrator would do. So let's watch the logs. It'll refresh every 2 seconds. Now for choice 2, if it's equivalent to the system log, instead of echoing anything, we'll simply do what we've done above, but do it on a different file. So we'll tail var log messages. And then the third option will be to quit. Now let's take a look at this, and this becomes a more useful script. We'll execute select 1.shell. We have 3 options. MySQL. This will watch the log, and nothing's happening. It isn't a busy system. We Control-C returns us to the menu. If you'd like to redisplay the menu, just enter no choice. The system log should certainly have values, and here are the values in this log, which will refresh every 2 seconds. Control-C takes us back. Now we have a simple menu that can allow us to look at our logs, and we can just keep adding options. And if you're ready to quit, just 3 to quit, and you're out of the log. And you can do other things around this, such as clearing the screen. So perhaps first you want to clear the screen, then watch the log, or whatever else you'd like to do. But again, the bottom line is Bash provides a simple way to create menus. It's select variable in a list. The list can be explicitly mentioned in between quotes separated by spaces, or stored in a variable like we've defined up top called list. And then you just set up conditions to check whether or not you've selected the option. And it also makes sense to put 1 for quitting. And you can do other things, but this is a simple way that you can do menus. And flag your files executable so it doesn't exit, because when it's sourced from bash, it does not create a subshell.